All right, what's up, guys? Let's talk Totemists. They just came out. I'm actually making this video before work, so let's dig into them and see what they do. See if they're good. You know, are they going to be playable in RTA? That kind of thing. First of all, I think the model is great. This is really fun. The totem's great. The little character on top is great. Nora there, little Nora. All right, 4-skill monsters, which is kind of neat. We don't get those too often. First is the same on everybody. It's the Raccoony first skill, right? Fully skilled up, it's what, 1.5 extra, so 16.5 healing. So recovery on 1 artifacts have, a new option, and I believe that's consistent on all of them. Yes. Yep. So everybody's doing the same thing. Not a lot of monsters have different first skills, but yeah, it's worth checking. All right, so we've got 2 different second skills. This is the one that we didn't know about. Let's look at the one we did know about. It was the grants immunity on all allies for 1 turn, on a 3-turn cooldown. 3-turn cooldown, I don't know. I guess because you have a skill 4, and you're going to be using that skill 4 quite a bit, so maybe this isn't so bad. Generally, anything that's a 1-turn buff, you'd like it to see it on a 2-turn cooldown, so it's a little more often, but it is what it is. The other one we have is on the fire one, and let's see, not the wind one. Fire one and dark one only, it looks like. Double check the blue one. Yeah, fire one and dark one only. And what it is it's an AoE contact buff removal. So it touches the enemy, removes all their buffs, and applies heal block. Heal block in and of itself, not super useful in PvP. I mean, I think Bearing does the silence basically, which is better. The other thing that is sort of scary, I guess it's the AoE buff removal is 100%. The heal block is 70%. I mean, that's not great. For something that's not great already, a 70% application I think is not great. So I could see this getting a buff at some point of, bumping it up. But it's on a 3-turn cooldown, which is what we like. It's a 2-turn application on a 3-turn cooldown. So they only have 1 turn off. So not too bad, not too bad. The combination of the heal and the strip, pretty good. So you could bring this guy or this girl / in her totem as your primary buff remover. I mean, the speed is yikes, right? Look at that speed. That's not getting any better than 97. Does it get better than 97 anywhere? Okay, no. So are these viable in PvE? Yes. Are they viable in PvP? Probably not. The speed is so low. I mean, who's bringing dragons other than Jameir? I mean, I guess you might bring Varad sometimes, but 97 is super low. Super, super low. So that's unfortunate. That hurts them pretty bad right off the bat. All right, let's look at the Fire 1 skill 3. So this is a continuous damage for 2 turns, and it's a passive when you attack, and continuous damage on the enemy for 2 turns when you're attacked. So that's kind of nice. This really, I think, finds a little home in PvP, or PvE, with the dots, right? So, I mean, dots are good. I don't know that this works in dragons or anything like that, but it could, I guess. But there's just better teams already. If you need a stripper and you need dots in TOA, maybe, but I don't know. There's a lot of things that do its job better, so we'll see. Number 4, the thing where it stacks the totems and you get basically a hybrid of your skill 2 and your skill 3 as skill 4. So it is 1 beneficial effect removed, decreases the HP per harmful effect. So, in theory, apply a bunch of dots, use skill 4 to decrease the HP. So that's a little bit of a baby nuke there. Could be good if there's a lot of dots. So maybe in PvE, if you use the dots, it kind of does a bunch of damage. I don't know. So that's a possibility there. Not something you really want to seek out if you're looking for only RTA monsters, I would say. All right, blue one. We looked at skill 1, we looked at skill 2. Skill 3 is a fairly small heal on a 3-turn cooldown, which is not bad. Because you got a 2-turn defense buff. So kind of like Amelia's skill 3. What's nice here is you got healing on 1, you got healing on 3, and then just immunity on 2. No cleanse anywhere, which is, you'd love to see a cleanse there because Amelia's got the cleanse. But you do have some team healing in 1 and 3, so definitely could find a spot in PvE. But again, I'm not sure about PvP. I don't think there's enough utility here. And then skill 4 is 20% heal for everybody, defense buff for everybody, and 1 turn immunity. So what's nice about this is these 2 things together, I feel like can give you permanent defense buff. So if you ever need that, sometimes I find it's hard to get a decent healer beside a bulldozer in Siege or something like that. you know, you can get the defense buff, you can get the bulldozer, you can get this kind of, I think, works really well with defense-based monsters because it will heal you, it will give you defense buff all the time. So maybe some adventurous, you know, defense-based RTA comps might include her because, I mean, that's kind of nice. There's some nice things going on here. The double defense buffs, like that's a 2-turn defense buff. That's a 2-turn defense buff, and this cooldown is 3 turns. This cooldown is no turns. So as long as you time it right, you'll have defense buff forever. And you'll have immunity quite a bit, because there's one there. There's one there on a 3-turn cooldown, so you'll have immunity a decent amount if you use it, if you cycle correctly, and you got a little bit of healing. So I kind of think this one's not too bad. Alright, Wind 1 we've already looked at. Know about that, know about that. This is the one harmful effect cleanse and the attack power buff, which is kind of nice. I like the attack power buff. And then skill 4 is the heal, the attack power buff, and the 1-turn immunity. So this one, I think, has some great utility in solo R5, just because it's an attack power buff healer with a little baby cleanse. Kind of everything you want in R5. And, you know, for me, I have 2 teams that have attack power buff with Colleen, and Fran, right? They got the immunity attack power buff, so they're doing some things where my third team is kind of a hybrid. There's a healer, but there's also a Chasoon, which is providing the attack power buff separate from the cleanse, and this one kind of combines those things a little bit. So I think I'll probably build this one and try it in solo R5 and see how it goes. If it finds a home there, then great. This is the one we get. So yay. What you'd hate to see is a fusion monster that has no place anywhere in the game. That would be the biggest bummer. But I think solo R5, and you know, maybe some guild content might do just enough to sneak into some guild content, but not anything crazy for PvP in any means. All right, light one, Ella. So these names: Nora, Aaliyah, Riley, Ella, and then we've got Maya. Those are fun. There's definitely going to be some people who have the same name as these monsters and are going to want them, right? That's always really fun. All right, so we got the heal. This is the one with the immunity. Skill 3 resets the cooldown time of an ally except yourself and increases attack bar by 50%. And it's not affected by cooldown, reducing or increasing skill. So this is Ventilate as a skill 3 with an attack bar buff, which is kind of nice. I mean, Ventilate's always welcome. This is a heal. This is immunity. So it's a super turn 2 Ganymede, right? Like it's providing super sustain, it's providing immunity, and it's got the Ventilate. Let's look at the skill 4 because this is going to matter. So same thing with the totems. Here's another heal. Decreases the cooldown time by 1 turn and grants immunity for 1 turn whenever you use the skill. So I'm assuming this is on itself, or maybe it's an AoE cooldown. It doesn't specify. Unless we assume the all allies part of recovers the HP of all allies by 20% to mean recovers the all allies by 20%, decreases the cooldown time of all allies by 1 turn, and grants immunity for 1 turn, which I kind of assume based on how everything else works. Like this skill plus this skill equals this skill. In which case, I think this is pretty good. Because this is, not Galleon, Dark Galleon, Frigate. Frigate's skill, kind of. It's got the 1 turn cooldown. This is going to be great in PvE for sure. Because any cooldown stuff is great. You've got the immunity. So we got Ganny with a little bit of a side of Morgani, which is kind of neat. This thing's not going to kill anything on its own ever, right? So you need to bring friends for it to just continually reuse the skills. But I like this one quite a bit. I think this might be my favorite so far. It's just a less aggressive, more passive Ganymede, I guess. Like, it's going to take more hits. Ganymede controls a little bit. This one's not going to control at all. It's just going to enable whatever you do. So pretty neat. Base speed still awful. But the HP is excellent. 12k. Excellent. All right, Dark One. Maya. Yep. This is the strip and the recovery disturb, right, for 2 turns. And then skill 3 takes damage only from the first hits of the enemy attack. Doesn't apply to boss attacks. Why would it? Why would you need utility in the majority of the game? So they want this to be a PvP monster, right? Because that's the only content in the game where you don't face bosses, right? So they want this to be PvP. So the skill 3 matters because this is in itself, so far we're doing nothing. We're stripping, we're not taking damage. What does this do? Stacks the totem, blah, blah, blah. Attacks all enemies to remove 1 beneficial effect, decreases the HP of the enemy granted with harmful effects by 15%, and decreases 10% HP if it's a boss. So, doesn't work on bosses. You can use this on bosses. What? Like, come on. Like, let this work on bosses, because this one does. I don't know. So it's a little baby HP not a balance, but a little baby HP nuke. I don't know. This one I don't feel like is PvP ready yet, because it's element neutral. It's super slow and a stripper, right? Like no matter what, at its core, it's a stripper because that's a strip. This is a strip, but it's slow. And this is good, but I don't know that it brings enough, right? You got a little heal here. I mean, you've got another strip. You've got a little bit of a damage. Like, I don't know. I don't see enough here to make me interested in this. Like, I feel like Bearing's strip silence is way better than this. And I think Bearing might be a little bit faster, and Bearing's super slow. So this one I'm not super impressed with. But a little baby buff, and it'll be good, because 2 strips is kind of nice, and they're AoE. So, my favorite is Light by quite a bit. I think my second favorite is probably Water. And then I like Wind. And then Fire could be good. I'm not feeling it right away. So I'm going to go Fire next, and then Dark as my least favorite. So, those are the Totemists, in my opinion. Hope you guys get good luck summoning them. I could see them being monsters that are in line for a buff at some point. They feel a little bit weak, but maybe I'm just massively underestimating their kit. But anyway, good luck everybody on your summons, and I will see you in the next video. Take care, everybody.